this is Lillian and today's video is the French 1 final exam review. So starting off, we have vocabulary from your Où allons nous unit and the J'ai faim unit. So I'm going to start over here on the Où allons nous. This is taken directly from the textbook, and this list right here is all the verbs and words that were in like the artwork of the textbook, but now they're just on a list for you to study, maybe make some flashcards. Okay, so starting off, we'll start with your regular ER verbs. We have danser, to dance, explorer, to explore, fréquenter, to frequent or to visit, inviter, to invite, nager, to swim, and patiner, to skate. Over here, we also have quitter, to leave. In your textbook, it's used a lot, like to leave someone's house, like elle quitte la maison. Passer, to pass, to go, to have, take. Passer in French is an interesting verb because it kind of, it's used, it can be used like in multiple different ways, as like, it can translate to multiple different things in English is what I'm trying to say. So in your textbook, the example that it says is il passe chez quelqu'un. So like, he goes to someone's house, he's stopping by, looks like he's like, yeah. But it could also be like to have, because like, I know in one of our units we just did was like job units, so we did il passe un entretien, so like that he has an interview. So it can be used in multiple different things, just kind of keep that in note. Another verb is bavarder, to chat. And déjeuner, I know déjeuner, it's technically, it kind of translates to, well, petit déjeuner would be breakfast, déjeuner would be lunch, but déjeuner could also be used as breakfast, but in the textbook, it's using déjeuner as a verb, as in like il déjeune, and it conjugates it as an ER verb because it's like they're going to lunch or they're having lunch. It's like this action. And then dépenser is to spend. And then, so going on to some of your words, just keep in mind which ones are feminine and which ones are masculine, and the spelling. That's really going to be the key to success with these vocabulary words. So we have un bien lieu, suburbs, un boîte de nuit, nightclub, un bureau, office or desk, un centre commercial, shopping center or mall, un centre-ville, city, town, center, downtown, un cinéma ou un ciné, movie theater, un endroit, place. This is not specific, it's just a place, like, a place. Un grand magasin, department store, un gymnase, gym, an hôpital, hospital. Notice hôpital, the H is silent. So if you're saying the hospital, you'd say l'hôpital. You do the L apostrophe on this one. So that's something to note. Even though it doesn't really technically start with a vowel, it has the vowel sound. Un lieu, place, again, same as un endroit. Un magasin, store. Un marché, market. Un musée, museum. Un parc, park. Une piscine, pool, un restaurant, and une ville, city or town. So once again, just kind of memorize these masculines and feminines. A majority of these words right here are masculine, so maybe it's easiest to remember which words were the exception, like un bien lieu, une boîte de nuit, une piscine, et une ville. Those were kind of the only ones that were feminine. And then going over here, we have une place, which is a square. And I'm not talking about like the shape, or talking about like a quad or like a big gathering area. Une terrasse de café, outdoor cafe. I already did these verbs. Un kiosque, a kiosk. Une maison, a house. Une montagne, a mountain. Une épicerie, grocery store. And une église, a church. It's not on here, but another word to note is chez, C-H-E-Z. It's another way to say like house, like une maison, but like it doesn't like in your textbook, like il passe chez quelqu'un, like he stops by the house of someone, or if you say chez moi, that's like my house, or chez toi, your house. So that's another word. If you ever see chez, chez, that means like the home of somebody. And then on your other unit, the j'ai faim, the I'm hungry unit, we'll start over here on this list with your just only a couple of verbs. You have apporter, to bring or to carry, coûter, to cost, and combien coûte, how much. And then on your food, you have une baguette, le beurre, butter, des frites, which is feminine, French fries, un fromage, cheese, le jambon, ham, un pain de champagne, country style bread or regular bread. If you ever see like pain de chocolat, it's like chocolate bread. Un sandwich, une boisson gazeuse or une boisson. Boisson is drink, gazeuse is like soft carbonated. Un chocolat ou un chocolat chaud, hot or regular chocolate. Un eau or un eau minéral, mineral water or regular water. Un jus or un jus d'orange, un jus de pomme, etc. Orange juice, apple juice. Le lait, milk. Une limonade, lemon soda. Un thé, tea, or un thé glacé, iced tea. Assez is enough, and then pas assez de would be not enough of. Beaucoup, or beaucoup de, a lot of. Des autres, others. Un morceau, piece. Un peu, and then un peu plus, a little more, or un peu moins, a little less. And all these you can add the preposition de to say of. It's like a little more of this or a little less of this. Plusieurs, several. Quelque chose, something or anything. Quelque, some. And then here we have tout, which is all. But these are all the different ways to conjugate it to agree with whatever subject you're using it with. So tout, masculine plural, would be the S. Two with a T ending would be masculine singular. And then tout le or tout les would be masculine, like all the, if you're adding your indefinite article right there. And then the feminine would be tout la and tout les. Just adding that E ending. And then too many or too much would be trop de. And then glass, like a glass cup, would be un verre. Or if you wanted to say like a glass of tea, say un verre du thé. Yeah. So you can also go over here. Just memorize these indefinite articles, like the masculines and feminines of all of these. This one's a little harder. There's a lot more variation, but a lot of it kind of lines up with like an E ending of coordinating with the feminine. Yeah. So over here we have le croissant, le prix, which is price, l'addition, which is feminine, that's the bill, une soupe, laisser, this is an ER verb, to leave, un serveur, or une, feminine, serveuse, a server, une bouteille d'eau, water bottle, faim, hungry, manger, to eat, un café, coffee, un éclair. Éclair is a pastry. It's got like chocolate and it's filled with cream. Yeah. Une tasse, a cup. Le thé, tea. Soif, thirsty. And le sucre, sugar. So once again, memorizing these articles, and these are all regular, I'm pretty sure all regular ER verbs, no weird conjugations. You guys know how to conjugate those. So for me personally, I would recommend making maybe some study cards. That's what I like to do, and try and test myself and see like if I give myself the English translation, and so I can translate it into French along with its indefinite article to make sure I know whether it's masculine or feminine. And that's kind of my tip for vocabulary. So next we have IR verbs, how to conjugate them, and some other regular ones that you might run into. So right here we have finir, this is our model. So your endings, you're going to replace that IR with IS, ISIT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT. Or Mad Minor has her little song. I'm not going to sing it, but it's like ES, ESET, ESSONS, ESSEZ, ESSENT. So there's your little IR endings. Hopefully you can think of the song that she sings. And yeah, this shouldn't be super difficult. These endings right here are really similar to avoir naître, and yeah. And then so here's some other regular IR verbs, regular meaning we're conjugating these all exactly the same, no weird stuff going on. So we have choisir, to choose, grandir, to grow, grossir, to gain weight, maigrir, to lose weight, obéir à, to obey. This preposition à right here on these specific verbs is, I have on the next slide we're going to talk about à and de, but it's like specific verbs in French use that à preposition. Here, I'll kind of show you right here. But like parler à, like you say elle va parler au professeur. And so it's kind of confusing, but it's not a big deal to memorize which ones right now have that preposition that follows it. But yeah, oftentimes if you're like seeing it in a sentence, it's probably going to have that after it. So anyways, going on, obéir, to obey, réagir, to react, réfléchir, to think about, to reflect on, réussir, to succeed, rougir, to blush, and vieillir, to grow old. And so yes, just remember ESESET, ESSONS, ESSEZ, ESSENT. Maybe make a little flashcard for these if you're not really sure on these translations and what these verbs exactly mean. And for conjugation, I would kind of maybe try and quiz yourself or like sing the song a bunch of times so you get stuck in your head and stuff like that. You can refer back to page 134 in your textbook if you want to review this, but yeah. Okay, next, like I was talking about earlier, we have your contractions à and de. So à translates to or at, and de is of. So we're going to start, and these are on pages 119 and 133. So preposition à is conjugated just like de. So if you want to conjugate it in the feminine singular, you're going to say à la. So like, je vais à la plage. There's an example. Same thing here, feminine singular with a vowel. You're just going to do the L apostrophe because the vowel, I mean like the next word that follows starts with the vowel. Yes. So masculine singular, never, ever, ever in French will you see a and le. It's like, that's illegal. So what you do is you combine a and le to create o. So you say, right here, like, elle va parler au professeur. You wouldn't say elle va parler à le professeur. You'd say o. And then same thing with the plural a and le. Those combine to make O-U-X. They're pronounced the same. The plural, it doesn't have a gender. It's just plural. You don't need to worry about whether it's feminine or masculine. It's just going to be O all the time. And so preposition à translates to in, at. It's often indicating location, but it can also follow these verbs. This is what I was talking about earlier. So you have commencer à, parler à, penser à, téléphoner à, habiter à, and aller à. So here's some examples. We have like elle va parler au professeur, and il commence à travailler demain. And so it's like, I wouldn't worry too much about this, but just remembering how to conjugate, like right here, just remembering like how to know, like if it gave you a and it told you to conjugate that, you like should be able to know that professeur is masculine, and then that you would say oh. It wouldn't be alle, it'd be o. And so just remembering how to make the preposition a agree with its subject, masculine, feminine, or plural. So same thing with the le partif or de. They're conjugated exactly the same. The de la, feminine singular, de L apostrophe, feminine singular with the vowel. De le does not ever exist. It's going to be du. And then de and le is going to be de, plural. It doesn't matter the gender. It's just going to be plural. So here's some more examples. So je bois du thé chaud. I drink some cold tea. Nous prenons des croissants. And so it's just reminding yourself how to make these agree with your subject. Notice how croissant is plural with the S at the end. Tea is masculine. And that's why going back and like memorizing these indefinite articles and what's feminine and masculine is really going to help you with things like this to make them agree. Also, a little note for your ne pas sandwich, the de goes after the ne pas in negative responses to questions. So negative responses to questions with the imperative structure use of ne pas. So you don't use indefinite articles. So, sorry, that was kind of confusing, but like when someone asks a question using de, you're gonna, and if you're responding a negative way, you're not gonna conjugate this. You're just gonna leave it normal in its infinitive form of de. So it's est-ce qu'il y a du lait? And then you say il n'y a pas de lait. Prends-tu de la soupe? You say je ne prends pas de soupe. So the de follows your ne pas sandwich, but you're not going to conjugate it to agree. You're just going to leave it at de. That shouldn't be like a big deal. Just a little side note. I wouldn't really worry about that too much, but that was in the textbook. I thought I maybe should include it. Okay, next we have irregular verbs aller, prendre, and boire. Aller conjugates to go. I know you guys have been working on that. Boire is to drink, and prendre is to take. So, aller is conjugated as je vais, tu vas, il va, elle va. Madame Miner has a song on this one, by the way. It's then the nous allons, vous allez, ils vont, elles vont. It's kind of got these same avoir endings, the ONS, EZ, ONT. We just have kind of, and like yes, S, just, it's all kind of similar to être and avoir, and it's all kind of, just remember Madame Miner's song, the je vais, tu vas, il va, elle va, nous allons, vous allez, ils vont, elles vont. Aller is used to say you're going somewhere, like je vais à la plage. I'm going to the beach. Or it can be used, I'm not sure if you guys know this yet, or if you guys learned about this, but aller can be used for the future. So if you're saying, like, just something in the future, you can use aller. What's a good example? I'm not sure. I forget if you guys have learned about the future with aller, but if you haven't, don't just wipe that out of your mind. Okay, moving on, we have boire. And so boire is to drink. So that conjugates to je bois, tu bois, il, elle boit. Nous buvons, vous buvez, il, elle boivent. And so these are all kind of similar, taking off the R with the S, and S is kind of similar to like how you would conjugate a regular RE verb. However, you have the V, the buvons, buvez, boivent. And so just memorize these. Maybe make a little flashcard, and like if it's like bois conjugated in the je form, and then you're like, oh, I think it's bois, B-O-I-S, and then you're like, okay. So that's one way to do it, or just keep on repeating it to yourself, but sometimes it's hard because of the silent letters in French, so I really recommend like doing a flashcard where you can see it spelled out, or like write it out multiple times, or like imaginarily like write it like on your flashcard or in your hand. I do that sometimes. Okay, your last verb, prendre, another RE verb, is to take. So this one's kind of conjugated similarly to boire and regular RE verbs, but it's a little different, like right here. So we have je prends, tu prends, il prend, nous prenons, vous prenez, il prend. So look right here and notice that there's a double N. That's something to note. That might trick you up a little bit. You might forget about that. There's nothing left on the il. Like this one has a T, but right here, there's nothing. Nous prenons, vous prenez. So just maybe doing that same like flashcard trick with all three of these verbs, and just really getting these solid, getting the spelling, getting the conjugation, all that stuff like that. Okay. And our final slide is question words. So if you wanted to ask at what time, you'd say à quelle heure, how many or how much, combien de, comment, how or what, où, which is where, pourquoi, why, quand is when, que or que, pronounced the same as what, and then quel, which or what. This is on page 120, by the way. If you want to, it goes into a little bit more depth if you want to read about specific things. And then à, avec, pour, qui. So qui would be who, and then if you wanted to add any of these, like to, with, or for, who, and then quoi is what. Note that quoi must follow a preposition à ou de to be used with est que or inversion. Inversion is when you flip it, like as-tu prêt? So you would like, are you ready? Like you would flip the, not to a, sorry, to a. Yeah, so for question words, honestly, it kind of goes into a little bit more specifics of things on page 120 in your textbook, how like à quelle heure and quand, how they both talk about like a time, but à quelle heure is talking about like a specific time, like a time of day, whereas quand is to talk about like a day or date. Another thing to note is that sometimes like when you see the word that it could, like quoi isn't like a very good way to respond to, like you don't know what's going on and you wouldn't say quoi. You would say comment or pardon, because those quoi's kind of impolite. Another thing, like if you're being asked a question formulated with pourquoi, you would respond to parce que, which parce que is because. And yeah, you guys probably are pretty confident on the question words. I know sometimes with all like the Q words, it gets like hard to differentiate like what means what, like quand, when, que, what, quoi, what, quel, which, what. I know it's like kind of repetitive, but as long as you can make out these like question words in a sentence, you're like, oh, okay. So kind of try to memorize like what these translate to, so when you're getting asked a question, you know what it's asking. Because if you didn't know the difference between like où and quoi, that would be a little problematic. So just kind of memorizing those. And yeah, that is my final slide for the French 1 final exam review. You guys are going to do awesome, and just study over these pages in your textbook. Maybe make some flashcards, and yeah, you guys are going to do great, and good luck.